Well, welcome everybody. It's September 2020. Today we're going to have a talk by Tracey Holinka from Bloomberg, also one of our meetup hosts. So yeah, this is gonna be fun. Next slide. Meet us. So I'm Christian Guerreri. I'm at Politico as a lead front-end engineer. Ben?
Yep, so Ben Hong. I'm on Cypress.io as a DX engineer and on the Vue.js core team.
Tracey.
Hey, I'm Tracey Holinka, and I'm at Bloomberg Industry Group. I'm a web application architect.
And I am Jack. Jack Kappa. I'm also at Politico with Chris as a lead front-end engineer.
Cool. This is us. Big update this month. We have reached 1,000 members.
Yes. Actually, 1,003.
1,003 members.
Yes.
It's just complete insanity. It has been, 3 years running almost. And to reach 1,000 is really awesome.
Gosh, 3 years? Has it been 3 years?
In December, yeah.
Almost. So we've been waiting for this. We've been seeing the number crawl up, and it's just really awesome. So thank you all for continuing to attend and continuing to be a part of this group. It means a lot to us. So obviously we are Vuej.s, and be sure to check us out at Vuej.s.io. Someone's going to paste these links into the chat. We have Discord, which is a great place to go. All of the places where you normally go for Vue information and Vue questions is usually littered with thousands of people, but ours is pretty small, so you're going to get answers pretty quick. We obviously have the meetup page, which you probably have already seen, and definitely check us out on Twitter. And almost all of our meetups are thoroughly recorded and many times managed in terms of the setting up the recording by Tracey on YouTube. So yeah, big keynote is happening on Friday. Evan, you will be giving the keynote for the Amsterdam Vue.js conference, which is a paid conference, but it sounds like a lot of the content might actually be free. At the least, I know this keynote will be.
Evan's will be free.
Yeah, so jump on YouTube on this link, and there's a little button that you can hit to remind you, so you'll get a notification about it. We're guessing that something big will be happening here, but probably the Vue 3 release, but who knows? We'll see.
It's worth bookmarking. I can say that much.
Yeah.
If at least it's cursory, just having it up on the side.
Exactly. So looking forward to that. So our next meetup, sure enough, is going to be an Intro to Vue.js workshop. We're meaning to do these a little bit more often. So definitely join us for that in October. And then obviously November is to be announced. Roy's looking for people to talk. So please fill out this form. Reach out to us at vuejsdc@gmail.com. Any and all of the above. Roy's looking for people to speak. If you're doing anything, it doesn't matter how small it is, concerning Vue, we want to hear from you and have you present yourself and show your work and talk about it and be passionate about it. So we're looking forward to that. All right.
So I added in. So this is actually a new thing. We meant to start this up a little while ago, but Vuej.s now has JetBrains as one of our sponsors. And so they've graciously donated 2 licenses for us basically every month. So going forward, at least for the foreseeable future, we will have 2 JetBrains licenses to license off. So basically for this month, the easiest way I think to enter the raffle, go ahead and when you're typing the message, you can do like all panelists and everyone, just send it to the panelists, give us your email. And so we'll announce it at the end of the meetup. We'll do like a randomizer so that we can announce it. But that way people don't have to like post us up publicly. So if you're interested in the JetBrains license, free license, please send us your email.
All right, awesome. So it's trivia time. I think Jack is hosting today.
Out of 6.
Drum.
God, Dan.
Well, Brad, congratulations for not flaming out.
All right.
That's good.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to pass it back briefly to Ben, probably, before we pass it to Tracey.
I think that's right. Let's see. Do we? Actually, no. I think after the trivia, this is basically we're ready to go. Actually, so Tracy, let's go straight to you. And so while she's getting set up, for those I've gotten basically a few of you have sent in your emails in. So thank you very much for the raffle. Just want to know that we have received it. So if you do want to enter the raffle, we'll be doing that at the end of the meetup. And again, I know some people may need to leave. Don't worry, if you are selected, we will still send it to you. So you don't have to stay the whole time for it. So appreciate everyone for sending in their email. And if you want to add your email in or know someone who can use it, feel free to add it as well. All right.
Hope I'm doing this correctly.
Looks good to me. I see your screen.
Well, I'm trying to do this and, oh, good. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, excellent. Okay. All right. So I just want to say, give Tracey Holinka, and I'm going to talk about HTML email. And I just want to say, so before, like about a couple months ago, when I was asked to do HTML email, I jumped for joy. Yeah. I ran away as fast as I could, and I am not kidding. But then Vue.js to the rescue. So I'm really excited today to talk to you about HTML email with Vue.js. And that just comes out of, I'm not an HTML email expert. I can barely say it. But I'm just a front-end developer who's been asked to do it a bunch of times. And so before I actually start my talk, I just want to get a sense of how many of you have actually had to do HTML email. So the panelists and then the participants, you can just raise your hand, your Zoom, raise your hand. I just want to get a sense of how many. Okay, so I can't see the participants. So is anybody raising their hand?
Yeah, we got like 4 people.
Okay, so keep your hands up if you really enjoyed the experience.
Oh, there you go.
Mine is
They
down.
all went away.
Disappeared. Oh wait, wait, hold on. We got a Sean. Sean said Sean's hand's still up.
He had a good experience.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's great because that's certainly not my experience. So, so Jack or Ben, can you talk really quick about your experience, like what you hated, what you liked,
Yeah. I will, Sean, since you were the only one who liked it, if you ping us if you're open to like hopping on the audio to share a little bit of that, because I would love to hear from someone who
has experience
with it. So just ping me with a thumbs up, the thumb down. We'll give you the audio in a bit. But as far as my end, yeah, all I remember from working with HTML email is just like if we thought cross-browser compatibility was bad, that is the number one thing I remember. It's like once it looked good in one, it like looked completely different in another. Yeah. Finagling with table like attributes when like we all know that like we always want to keep up with the latest and greatest, and then let alone being stuck with tables and having to learn those attributes and no one uses those anymore. Oh, so painful. So yeah, definitely the cross-platform issue was my biggest gripe. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, I think for us it was, I had to work on it somewhat recently, maybe a few months ago. And so it was after, in our case, I've been working with Vue for 2 years and Angular for a bit before that. And our email generator was just handlebars templates coupled to some Java models. And so there were two kind of frustrating. Yeah. It was, it's fine. You get used to it. But two frustrating aspects were one, what Ben mentioned, which is like, it's writing HTML that in a way that no one writes HTML ever at this point. And then the other part was, it was, a syntax that felt clunky and very different from what we normally write. And so everything just seemed to take about 3 or 4 times longer than it would with our web applications. So yeah, I was not raising my hand.
Sean just messaged back, and so apparently, just for the audience to know, he was actually distracted at the moment, so couldn't take his hand down in time. So just I thought maybe there's an explanation like love the puzzle solving aspect of it, because it is like there's like a lot to unravel with it, but. Fair enough, Sean. You're like the rest of us. Good to know.
Okay. Oops, let me get back on the screen. Okay, so basically, kind of as Ben was talking about, there are many desktop and web-based email clients that don't support like today's basic standards or even the standards when they were created. And so I actually like to say you code like it's 1999. And that means tables are used for layouts, standards aren't followed, what works in one email client doesn't work in another email client. Like as Ben was saying, it's really a frustrating experience. So like, what are you to do, right? Okay, so enter these email frameworks that have been around, I know, for 3 or 4 years now, and they actually solve for this email client compatibility problem. And there's one framework that's really lightweight. It's MJML, and it compiles to HTML email. But it doesn't actually provide a mechanism for dynamic data, but Vue.js does. So, okay, wait a second. Vue.js is for a browser, right? We're doing email. We're going to send it out through email. So, like, how is this going to work? So server-side rendering and Vue server render is how you do it. So this actually wasn't my idea. So here's a link to a simple POC, and I'm going to send out, through chat at the end, I'll send out all the links I mentioned here. And so I just want to go over this POC really quickly, because give credit where credit's due, right? And so basically, again, there's only 3 main dependencies here. It's MJML, Vue, and Vue server render. So it's pretty, like, it's been a long time since I've only seen 3 main dependencies in any kind of app or any kind of anything. So so basically you create the Vue, you create the Vue app. This template MJ section is the MJML code. And then you create the renderer, Vue server renderer, and then you take the app, put it through the renderer, and then the renderer is going to create this thing, this data server render equals true thing, this attribute. And that's actually for client-side hydration. And we don't need that because it's going to be email, so we can take that out. And then you just pass all this through this MJML to HTML. And it's actually going to change everything into this special HTML email code. And then you have your email. So that's the quick and dirty POC. Okay, so we can take this. And architect and create an app like we're used to having with Vue. So we can have our views, we can have components, we can have assets. We can just make it look and feel like we're used to using. Oops. So I recommend that you wrap everything in a method for easy access, and this is what we do in Bloomberg Industry Group, and that way we can package it for a dependency and it can actually be used anywhere. So there's some changes that I've made for the POC. The first thing is that I have this component body that has a slot that I pass this email, which will be in Vue, and I'll show you all this stuff. So I do that because I want this method that I'm using to that I'm wrapping everything in to be as slim as possible. The other thing is when I create the renderer, you really only need this Vue SSR outlet. You don't really need anything else. And then everything else is kind of what I showed you, except I cleaned up some of the language, the variables. So this is the body component. And I like to think of this as like the index.html of the email, right? Because this is how everything starts. So this is your head, your body, the code, all the code you need to make this email work. And so you can see here, there's a couple things I want to point out. One is these MJ attributes. This is actually, so MJML has all these, what they're called components or tags, however you want to refer to it. And you can set the default like styles there. There's some default styles that come with it. So you can override it with your custom ones you want. So here I have padding 0. They have some padding that they set. And you can do it MJ all and set override all of them. So you can have a font or a padding or whatever you want to do. It's kind of like the CSS reset for email. The other thing I want to point out is this MJ style inline equals inline. So any styles that come in here, they're actually MJML to HTML is actually going to inject them as a style attribute onto whatever element that the class is attached to. So for example, you say you have a class headline font style, just like you normally would do CSS, but then MJML to HTML, it's a tongue twister, will inject it as a style attribute. But this is really, really important because a lot of email clients, and I'm talking about you, Microsoft Office, will not understand the internal styles or styles in the head section, they won't understand that. So, or it won't understand that. So you need to put it into, you want to inject it as an inline style. And the last thing is that by default, NJML will have your content width be 600 pixels. So this may seem small, but if you think about it, if you're on a desktop, well, if you're on mobile, that's fine. And if you're on a desktop, you generally have like a list of folders, and then you have the list of emails, and then you actually have the viewer. And so you maybe only have 750 width anyway. So this is why it's customary to do it 600. Some will do 650. I don't see much going wider than that. So if you want to override this 600 default width, then you could do that just adding width to the MJ body. So I just want to go over the basic syntax before I get into the actual code. So the basic MJL syntax is, so I said, and Ben talked about that everything's tables. And so you think of this as a table. MJ section is a row. MJ column is, just a regular column. And then the MJ text is the plain HTML inside this column. And this is pretty much the only place that plain HTML will actually work.
Tracy, we have a quick question.
Sorry. Oh, sure. I can't see anything because I have it on full screen.
No, that's fine. So just, I think some might have joined late. Could you explain MJML to everyone just once more for those that might have missed it?
It's just a email framework.
Yeah, so think of them like custom components that basically help to output.
Right. So we have web frameworks like Foundation or Bootstrap. Yeah, I'm sorry, I should explain that better. We have, like I said, Bootstrap's a framework that people may have used. And so this is just a framework that you don't have to write all this custom code, and it will compile it for you. Does that explain it, or is that a yes or a no?
Yep, okay. We got a thanks in the chat.
Great. I'm sorry, I can't see anything.
No, don't worry. I'll interrupt you if I.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so anyway, so here's an example on the right of the syntax. You have the section, which is the row, the column, which is the column, and then you have MJ text. This padding is a style you put on there, and I know this looks really weird to have it like this, but the MJ text component or tag, however you want to refer to it, actually, that's how you pass it into it. So because you're not passing it into HTML, you're passing it into this component that's going to do a bunch of stuff with it. So it looks really weird, but that's how you do it. And then inside that MJ text is the only place that you can have regular HTML. And of course, you see I have the mustache code. You have regular Vue HTML. So this is where you would put your regular HTML, the stuff that's actually going to show up in the email. You put your regular HTML anywhere else, and it's not showing up. So if you want to, you can do multiple columns. So if you want to have like 2 columns in a desktop and then have them stack on top of each other for mobile, you can do that, and it's pretty easy syntax. All right, this I wanted to show you because this is crazy. This is the whole table thing. It's not just tables; it's nested tables. So this is a simple email that that I'll show you actually show you the code. And you can see, all I did was put a border on the tables, and you can see there's 5 levels of nesting. So this is insane. So if you can imagine actually hand coding this yourself, it's crazy. So this is why we have frameworks now. And the frameworks, when they first started, I didn't think they were that great, and that's why I hand coded a lot of stuff. But now I think they're really good. So, okay, so let's take a look at the code. Okay. Actually, before we take a look at the code real quick, though, I want to show you. I don't want to show you that. Sorry, I can't. This bar's in my way, and I can't see. There we go. Okay, so here's the documentation. And this is for MJ text. And these are all the defaults I talked about. So their documentation is it's not as good as the Vue documentation, Ben. But it's, it'll get you through it. So this is all the defaults that, that for that component will have. So if you need to override them, then you can just pass the attribute, the styles to the attribute. This is the one thing that I find really kind of not, their default is 13, which I think is too small. I think it should be 16. So anyway, so you can come here and see the defaults. So let's go see the code now. Okay. So starts with renderer, just like I showed you in the slides. So let's go take a look at the body that starts the MJML stuff up. It's a little bit more in there now. So one thing here is this MJ preview. And this is, when you have a list of emails, it'll have a subject, and then it's going to have some text underneath it. That's what this MJ preview is for. And so this is a nice thing that it does. You just wrap everything in a tag, and it just does all the stuff behind the scenes for you. And that's why it's really nice. These attributes are the overrides. So, and then here's the style. So there's two ways you can use the style tag. There's inline styles, and there's the regular internal styles or styles in the head. This is my way of doing it, is to make it external. I have it into a string that I'll bring in as a variable, and I'm going to go show you that real quick. So it's kind of weird just to have something called css.js, but this is, I like to keep my styles external to this, so that's how I did it. So I just have my styles here, like you would normally do, because it's a string and it's just going to write it as a string. It's fine to do it this way. So the one thing is that if you have any markup coming from outside, so for my case, a news organization, we have article summaries and different text coming in, and maybe they have a bold, or they're doing a hyperlink, or they have italics, or they have some kind of markup. If you want that to have some kind of style to it, this is where you would do it in the inline styles, because MJML to HTML will actually take and inject it in that content too. So you can only control your templates, but it'll actually inject it into the actual data, the actual content. So this is where you would do that. If you need to make a difference between mobile and desktop, then you can do it in the style tag that doesn't have inline. And I have a simple example here of when it's mobile, because mobile first is center, and then when it goes to higher than 480, the desktop, it goes left align. I don't recommend making too many differences. Designers may have a totally different idea, but I don't recommend making too many differences, like having font size differences and stuff, because you're going from 480 to 600. There really shouldn't be that much of a difference. Maybe you have a column, two columns that go to one, but I personally don't think there should be a lot of differences. Maybe that's just because I'm the developer that has to make it happen. Even with the system, I still don't think you should do it. So that's just my opinion. So let's go back. Okay, so back to the renderer. So in the slot, you can see that I have this MJ wrapper full width, and is this large enough everybody can see it? I didn't think to ask that question.
Yeah, I think you're good. You might bump it like a couple, but it's otherwise fine. Is
that good?
That's great.
Yeah, I meant to do it beforehand and I forgot. Sorry about that. So this MJ wrapper full width is pretty much the only way that you can have anything go across the full width viewport and not constrained to the 600 pixels. So in this case, I used it to make a bar go across the top. Other than that, everything is pretty much constrained to the 600 or 650 or whatever your pixels you've chose. So the footer, I have a footer here. So I just want to show you this footer really quickly. So, and you can see this, even though I'm using temporary literals, it kind of feels like a regular Vue app, to me at least it does. So here's an example, more filled out example of what the footer is. And you can see I have the MJ wrapper, the section, the column, and this is the pattern you have to use. I've passed in some font sizes and line heights to the MJ text. I have a footer, I use that. The footer class, I use that between the difference between desktop and mobile. So yeah, so once you get used to this syntax, it feels pretty natural, at least to me it did. So let's go back to renderer. Okay, so part of this method is you pass the payload in. And so I extract the articles. I pass in the props articles to this email, and I put this email in views, because to me, this is the big views piece. And here we can see it. Oh, I just want to point out one thing real quick, because this is something that tripped me up. So this wrappers can't be inside wrappers. They have to be their own thing. So you can see I have MJ wrapper, then email I'll have a wrapper, and footer had a wrapper too. And that's something that actually always tripped me up, and you just have to accept it. Anyway, so here we have the wrapper, I have a header, I have the section column again, and I have an article component. Just like you would in Vue, I'm V4ing it and looping through it and passing in the individual articles to this article component. So here's the article component. You can see, looks pretty much like a regular Vue component. I mean, it's not single file, but that's okay. Because with single file comes all the compilers and stuff anyway. So article prop, I have text again. So here I have body, because I want to have a particular class on that. So anything that's inside this MJ text, or basically anything that's a normal HTML element or tag, if you want to do some kind of styles to it, you need to do it by a class. Or you can, if you really wanted to, you could just do inline style it yourself. I just find it easier to manage. I mean, the more complex your email gets and the more components there are to it, and the more styles there are, I find it just actually really better to control it externally in one place so I can see what they all are, especially for consistency. If I want to have some kind of consistency, I find it better. Okay. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like. And so I have dummy data, and I have a little script that I wrote to trigger it all. So, and this is how I actually do the development at work too. So I just type in yarn dev, and it should trigger everything. Okay, so this is the only live coding I'm doing, because I do not like to do it, is to run the commands. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So it's pretty simple. The bar that goes across with the wrapper, the header, the headlines, and the article summaries, and then the bottom, the footer, and I'll just show you real quick. So here's what it looks like with mobile, and then without mobile, it goes to left align. Okay, nothing really fancy. Okay. Okay, so that was a really simple app, but we can actually do a lot more things, and we can take advantage to everything that Vue gives us, Vue offers to us. I mean, we're not in single file components, but we still get everything with Vue. So we can use computer properties, which I use quite a lot. I know that we don't really need the reactivity. So if you're doing this for a web app, data can change and stuff, but this is like the data, this is being run once and it's gone, right? So I don't need the reactivity, but I found computer properties is just a really convenient way to do what I needed to do with data. We also have dynamic components, and this has been great because you can have all these different sections. You can have an image section, you can have an article feed section, you can have a featured article, you can have all kinds of different sections, and have the editors choose the order they want it. Like in the CMS, they can just choose, here's the order they want it, and long as the backend developers did their job and delivering us in the right order, then we can paint it the way they want it. And that gives them the opportunity through day to day to reorder their email based on what their particular email needs are, what customer feedback says, and developers aren't involved, and that's really great. So there was a couple of issues I ran into. So one of the first one was, I don't really know why, maybe someone that knows Vue better or JavaScript better than I do, but I'm already in a temp right literal, and so this is probably part of the reason, but I thought I'd be able to do something like, do the $sign thing to get my, get the data in there, and it just blew up in my face. So basically mixing variables and strings just did not work, and I'm not really sure why. It threw errors. So I ended up using a method or a computer property, depending on my situation. And maybe somebody out there knows why that's happening or if there's a better way to do it. So I should say that I just started doing this like 6 weeks ago. So this is just like all new for me too. The really thing that really drove me insane, and it's been driving me insane since the beginning of me using Vue, is the single root issue, right? So I realize that Vue 3 is coming and that we're not going to have restricted to the single root component, but we have to wait, at least in this case, I have to wait for the SSR, the server-side renderer, to catch up, and I don't know when that's going to happen. So anyway, here's the problem. So you can imagine if you wanted to add an image, like you have a headline and then you have article summary, and you want to add an image above that, right? So the image is attached to that article. So what you'd really want to do is what I have here in this slide is this is what MJM wants you to do. They say MJL image cannot be inside text. It can be inside a column, but it can't be inside text. And if you think about what they're doing, they're going to actually take this image and they're going to put it inside a table. And so this is part of the nesting table that happens. And they're going to put it inside a table mainly because Microsoft Office is the only way to deal with images in Microsoft Office. So that's the rationale why they're doing this. But then you run into the problem, what do you do with Vue? And what I do with Vue now, because I can't wait for Vue 3 to come out. So what I ended up doing, and there may be other ways to solve it, but this worked the best for my particular situation, is I ended up doing a functional component with a render function. And I use functional components as a single file, component, but I actually don't think I've ever used a render function ever. I've never had a need to. So this was this was interesting for me. And the thing about functional components are you don't have computer properties, you don't have methods. So in this case, I think it's just best to use it as like a container to pass everything through, which is how I used it. So I just have my props. I can't use computed. I can't do anything anyway. And then functional true. And then I have the render function. I'm not sure how you normally write a render function, but in this case, you have to do it as an array. And then you just pass in your props. And because you don't have the this anymore, you need to do the context.props, articles, images, So that's how I solved that problem. And so let's see this code. Okay. Actually, what I want to do real quick is actually show you what this is going to look like. Oh, this thing keeps getting in my way. Okay, so this is actually the final code, what it actually looks like. And I have a jump link. You click on it, it'll take you further down into the article. And that only works, by the way, in desktop. I don't think it'll work in mobile. So I have like a feature article component with an image. I have articles, article feeds, and you can have images above the articles. I work for a news organization, so that's why everything's about the news for me. I have an image component, and then another article component, or another article feed component. And then at the bottom, I have this component where it's just tagged. So it goes through all the articles, gets all the tags that are attached to them, and theoretically provides a place where they can go do a search and see with search, and shows you all the things that are tagged. All the articles are tagged like that. Okay, so let me shut that down. Let me just check this out. Okay, so the renderer is the same, the body is the same, but now it's more complex, and so more things are going on. Sorry, I just got to move everything out of the way. So anyway, more things are going on. So I have all this computed going on. The article tags, I have to go through and grab them. I have topics I have to grab and construct. So that's the thing that I really appreciated about doing a Vue. And of course, at work, it's so much more complex what I have to do. And I just found out Vue made it so much easier. And my experience with frameworks is you had to piece together a bunch of stuff. Like you had the framework, like this, MJML framework, but then you had to piece back. Like I've seen where they do something like MJML and Python and just all kinds of things. Jack talked about using Java. I found this really easy to use. It's what I'm used to. And I just found that Vue has a lot of features that just make it really easy. So let's take a look at this navigation component, which is the jump links at the top. And you see everything's in the component, just like we're used to. Okay, so this is the example of like I couldn't mix the strings and the variables. So one of the things is, even though you have these frameworks like MJML or any other framework for email, you still have to know some of the things that happen with, I hate to say this, but I feel like a broken record, Outlook, because it seems like it's always the problem. IE was a problem in the browser world, Outlook's a problem in the email world. And so Outlook, for whatever reason, at least what I'm targeting, which is Outlook 2016, it doesn't even understand display. It just doesn't understand it. So normally if I have a list of like, a list of topics or tags or something, I normally would do it as an unordered list and then maybe flatten it out or do whatever I need to do with it. And I partly do that, partly training for accessibility, but I also think it makes sense. But since Outlook doesn't understand display, you can't do that. So I have to put everything inside spans. And if you wanted to, if you really wanted to have you could put bullets in front of it as an image, do whatever you want, but display just doesn't work. And so you do have to learn those kind of quirks too. Okay, so let's go back to email. And so take a look at tags. So tags, it's a similar problem. I have to put everything in span, but you can see here, I'm doing a loop. I have just normal like you would Vue code. I have the key there. I have dynamic data coming in with the tag IDs. It's just really very similar. I mean, it's just like you're doing Vue. Okay, so now I have these dynamic components. So we're back to the email view, email in the views directory. So now I'm doing the dynamic components. And so based on the name that comes through, I'm picking the component. So I have a featured section, which is like a featured article. I have an image section, just an image, and then I have a feed section. So the featured section was that article at the top with the dog in there. Because the images cannot be inside MJ text, and I'm not iterating through here. I don't worry about splitting data up because this is all one component. I have everything in section. I have a column. I have the text. I have the section headline. And then I close the text, and then I have the image, and then I open the text again. So sometimes there's things like that you need to do. But to me, it's totally worth it. Or if you would just, well, anyway, if you would, yeah. Anyway, so, and then we have an article, not article image, sorry, image section. So image section is just an image. The one thing I want to point out here is Microsoft Office doesn't respect, doesn't accept, I don't know what their deal is, but it doesn't take CSS width. So for images, it's actually the best practice to actually put the width on the image. Hopefully you'll know what that width would be, and you'll be able to put it on there. In my case at work, I actually have them deliver the images with the width because it's the only way it's going to work. So this looks kind of weird but it's not it's not the image tag, right? It's the MJ component. So that's why you have width 600 pixels. So I just think that looks a little weird, but I got used to it. And everything else is like, again, that you can use your dynamic data, but you can see you could pass a lot of attributes, or a lot of CSS through the attributes like this. And then the big piece of this is the feed. So again, I have everything section columns, it's very repetitive. But now I have the article container that I created. That's my functional component. And so now I'm just going to iterate through that. Now, there may have been other ways to solve this problem. Like maybe you could have put every article in a section. If you put it in a column, they're going to stack. So you can't do that. So the other option would be, I mean, they'll go side by side. The other option would be maybe to do everything in a section, but for my situation, it just didn't work. So there could be other ways to solve it. It's just the way that I chose to solve this problem. So if you go to article container, it's pretty much what I show you in the slides. There's nothing really different from there. I have an article image, which is just an image, and then I have article. So, and the article is really similar to what I had before, except now I have actually a permalink attached to it. So that's pretty much that. So let's run this and see what comes out. Okay, so now what I want to show you is the total insanity that is HTML email. So I don't know how well you all can see this, but this file is going to be long and crazy. So you can see over here on the right, oh my God, it just goes on forever. Like you can see, it's totally insane. Now, this isn't minified or anything like that, but this still gives you an idea to how long this is. This isn't crazy. So now that I've given you all a headache from spinning, this is what it looks like. It's going to be tons of nested tables. You're going to see a lot of if exclamation point MSO Microsoft Office. And I don't know if any of you remember the days when you used to do that for IE, like 7 or 6 or whatever you were looking for, whatever you were trying to deal with. So you'll see a lot of that. You'll see.
Awesome. Yeah, they're called conditional comments. That's hilarious.
Thank you. Yeah. So you still have, see, code like it's 1999, right? So anyway, so you have a lot of stuff like this that, MSO tables, just a lot of, honestly, it's a lot of special code for Microsoft Office. So I hate to keep picking on them, but it is. So it just goes on forever and ever, tons of nesting. If we can ever find the content that I have, oh my God. Well, if you ever can find the content, you'll see that like the styles, like the headlines of H2s have been have inline styles. This is really horrible to go through. So anyway, it goes on forever and ever. Oh, here we go. So you can see there's some inline styling done here. So that's kind of, anyway, that's why I find it better to just try to keep everything, all my CSS in one place and just have everything inline and not have to even do it in the components, the Vue components themselves. So yeah. So I think, yeah, that's it for that. And so this is just this email, the email that I showed you, but I could show you this. So if I hit refresh, it's going to be the new long one. See, it really did work, just to prove it really worked. So anyway, okay. So I guess should I stop? Is there any questions or should I?
Yeah, no questions in the chat yet, but hopefully people will feel free to post Q&A.
Any questions, anything I go over that wasn't clear? Because they can just deal with that now if you, or.
Yeah, no, I think it's really clear, actually. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Looking forward to this demo.
Yeah. So I try to keep it simple, but give you all you just haven't. I'm so excited about this. Like it's just. Anyone who's done HTML email understands how excited I am about this. I believe. All right. So, okay. So like I said, I'm very excited. I love it. It's great. There's one thing that kind of brought little tears to my eyes. There's no Vue tools, right? So I'm sure all of you that do development in Vue use Vue tools all the time. I know I do. I can't live without it, but apparently I've learned to over the last 6 weeks. And it's actually not too bad. There are ways to troubleshoot. It's just like Vue tools just is a really nice package, right? And of course, this is HTML email. It's like we process the email once. It's not like there's a lot of complexity compared to a web app. So probably Vue tools is overkill, but it's something that definitely a little bit different for me. So there's ways to troubleshoot. So Vue will give you warning at the command line when you run it, like when you're doing development and you run it, like I did with that yarn dev thing that I created. It'll give you warning, so you know what's going on. So it's just, you know, you definitely know what's going on. But if you have a problem with like not being able, like I can't read a URL of undefined, so that means something's not getting passed through, then you can go ahead and use this MJ section, MJ column, MJ text. And I ended up just keeping it copied. I just ended up doing a copy and paste job because it just got too tiresome to keep writing this out. Because you can't, that's the only place you're going to get this to work. If you put it just this image mustache in section, it's not going to show up. So anyway, you can do that. It'll show it's like the old days of a PHP var dump. I mean, it'll show the entire object or array or whatever it is you've got. And so that's a way to help troubleshoot what's going on. MGML has a validator. So the default is soft and you can set it to strict, and the default is soft and it'll render despite error. So you obviously want that for production, but if you set it to strict, then the errors are going to show up whatever your output target is. And so that's a good way to specifically get the MJML errors. So like when I was first doing it, I would just use the components incorrectly or something, and it would give me the errors, which is how I learned the wrapper can't be inside each other and stuff like that. So that's really helpful to help debug errors. So performance. So obviously performance is important in anything we do, but like, at least in my opinion, when you're doing a web app and it's in a browser, there's all kinds of tricks to hide, you know, problems, right? You load the stuff at the top of the page first, and the stuff at the bottom could take longer to load because they can't see it. You know, provided the bottom of the page is, you know, outside the viewport, which usually is. You know, also, you don't have everybody hitting in your server at the same time. Plus, the server only matters when there's server-side rendering, because once they have the Vue app, the browsers are doing a lot of the work, right? It's you know, it's a lot of it's client-side that's happening. It's not server-side. So performance is important, but I think it's just a different thing you have to pay attention to when you're doing this email, because you can imagine if you have thousands and thousands of emails being generated, and I don't know about Politico, but I know where I'm at, when those editors send out an email and people haven't got it within like a couple of minutes,
oh yeah,
we're hearing about it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty important. We have a lot of, you know, statistics behind the scenes to make sure we're making sure that always goes out quick.
Oh yeah, because the editors, I mean, I've been chased down by them, and I'm not kidding. So yeah, so it's pretty important. So there's different ways to manage to deal with the performance and stuff. But while I was developing, I changed a method to something I thought would be better. And a colleague of mine said, okay, let me see if it's actually better. So what she did is, actually, I'll show you what she did. So she just created this little file, you know, just JavaScript file that just has some dummy data. And actually, is my colleague Emma. I'll give credit to where credit is due. And so she's like, oh, let me prove if your new method is really that great. So anyway, she created this method. She created a bunch of dummy data. She did the first method that was done. The second method that I ended up doing, which was this filter flat map, and then a couple other things. And so the reason I'm showing you this, because I was shocked. Now, I don't consider myself a JavaScript developer, so maybe people that do a lot of JavaScript would know this is what I'm going to show you. You may know this is the case, but this was definitely something really interesting for me. Can she spell correctly? That's the question. Ooh, it did it. Okay. So it's looping through with all this data, dummy data she created. And you can see, can you all see this?
Yeah.
So the crazy thing for me is that the difference between the filter and flat map is crazy.
Yeah.
So that's a huge difference if you have thousands and thousands of emails coming at you. Yeah. So I started using this technique to just test everything, because I really don't like the editors coming after me. And I also ran the renderer through it. Actually, let me just do this. And so I just have data, the dummy data going through it. And so that's what it came up, 86 milliseconds. So I'll show you something that I discovered, and I haven't really had a chance to figure out why it's like this. But so if I actually run this, I'll just copy and paste it. Okay. So let me save that and let me run it again. And this is interesting, and maybe somebody actually knows Vue better, why this is happening. But if you look at the times, so the first time it hits it, it's like the Vue instance is being started or something. And then after that, it's pretty fast. So
interesting.
And I've actually verified that it's actually generating. It's not like faking it out. It's actually generating. I did things where I threw different types of data in to make sure there wasn't some kind of weird caching I didn't understand, and it still did it. So that's kind of a mystery to me. And it's something I definitely want to find out more why it's happening. But So I think kind of towards the end here. Okay. Yep. So here is the links, and I'll send them out. And I guess we should do, Q&A if anybody has any questions.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing?
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Two things I want to show you there's something called Can I
email?
Yeah. So let me see if it'll let me out of this. Okay. I meant to show it to you and I forgot. Oh my God. Zoom, why do you keep putting this where I don't want it?
It's funny because we can't see it. So
I know anything it presents with Zoom, this bar gets like thrown in your way, and it's always where I don't want it. And it's just very, very frustrating. So anyway, you have can I use, right, for a browser. So this is can I email. It's definitely not as robust, but it's actually a place to start and see what's going on. The other thing is, and the links I'll send out, is something called email on acid. And we use it at Bloomberg. I know that you're using it at Politico, I believe, Chris. Yeah. And that's a way, what that is actually, so email and acid has 85 different email clients. And so what I do is, and we're going to automate this process eventually, but this is how I'm doing it now, is I actually take this file here, I copy it and I paste it into email and acid, and it runs through. I don't do all 85 email clients because I'm not worried about 85 email clients.
Yeah.
But it will go through and it'll create a snapshot, an image of what it looks like. And it's the full length of the email and what it looks like. And you can do it.
In the client too is what's important.
It'll do it in the client, and it'll also do it without images, because images are not always turned on by default. So you get you get a view of just the viewport, so to speak, in the email client and without an image. So that's been really helpful to troubleshoot different things, because these frameworks are great, but it is still, that doesn't teach you that, Outlook will respect width, which, I've learned through paying that one. Because I've done this. So I've done HTML email in the past, but I like to say I've buried it deep within my soul because I don't want to think about it. So I, slowly started remembering some of the things. But, display, there's just all these kind of quirks with, especially Outlook. I don't know if this is still the case, but when I was really doing tons of HTML email before, Outlook was actually using Microsoft Office as its renderer for HTML email, which is crazy. I don't know if that's still the case, but it was back then, which kind of explains some of the insanity, I think. But anyway, so it'll give you all these different views, and it'll allow you to see where the bugs are, what kind of, what you need to fix and stuff. And so even though you have these frameworks, I've discovered the simpler the emails are, just the easier it is on the developer, but it's also more likely it's going to work on all these different email clients. Because even though I'm not checking 85 email clients, I'm checking our top 10. you still don't want it to look horrible on the other ones.
Yeah,
So,
you definitely have to know like which clients you need to target and which ones aren't important, because it's very easy to get like really in the weeds with like the really, really old stuff.
right.
So how I guess I'll just start off Q&A until we start getting questions, but because I have a few of my own questions.
Okay.
I like how are you going about knowing which email clients to test?
So we have a group that does analytics, and I asked them to tell me. So they didn't have, so yeah, I just asked them to tell me. I don't want to say too much because I don't know what I'm going to get in trouble for. So, but they gave me a list and said, here's our top clients. And I can tell you this because this ain't a shocker, like 75% was Outlook 2016, which is not surprising. So, the interesting thing about these emails that I want to say is that, so I have a Mac, right? I have Outlook 2016 on the Mac, and then I have my product owner. He's got Outlook 2016 on a PC, and it's amazing the differences.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's the same email client, but on a Mac versus
clearly not.
PC. Yeah, no, clearly not. But so yeah, I asked them, and they said Outlook 2016 PC, and I of course cried, and
it like this whole thing is really interesting because you assume when you hear like HTML and Vue, like or emails, HTML emails via Vue, like you assume that you have like literally all the power of Vue, and like you can do everything you can do in Vue, and you can do it now in emails. But like that's really not the case. Like you're still limited by the end products, and so can you talk a little bit about maybe someone gives you a project and you have to produce an email that's been designed. Like how have you gotten around some of those design problems where they're like, we want to have an animated GIF, and
I tell them no.
we want all email clients to show
no.
and we want all email clients to show an embedded video,
I tell them no. I really do. I say no. Okay, so I push back, and I'm just lucky I'm in a position where I push back, and as long as I have a good explanation of why to push back, then they're fine. I also was lucky in this round to have a designer that actually knew something about HTML email. That's the other thing is your designer has to have some knowledge too, right? They have to know that, I'm not going to, even though there's a carousel component, which I don't understand why there's a carousel component for MJML, but there is. We ain't using it. They have to know that that's crazy, right? So, at least for our client base, it's crazy, right? There may be some that are just all in mobile and it works fine. But so I think you also have to have a designer that actually has some understanding of HTML email and what the limitations.
Yeah, we're in kind of the same boat where at least up until more recently, the majority of the people that were writing HTML emails or composing them were actually designers who do markup and CSS every day, and so this is obviously very difficult for them because they're still composing them manually, and so you've shown like an interesting process to do this a little bit more dynamically.
Yeah, and the thing is this isn't like, I feel like just like Vue, okay, yeah, it's more JavaScripty, like you have the temporal littles, you have to deal with all that, and it's not a single file component, but it's not so difficult that you can say someone that just knows HTML, CSS, here, you can maybe do it this way.
I mean, I think what's really nice about this is that MJML has gone through the process of understanding, like, here are the quirks. Like we know all the stupid little, what we used to think of as IE5 and IE6 quirks, and we know all the dumb little conditional comments.
Like, they do.
Let us handle this problem with just components. So yeah, I think that's what's really interesting about it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's that by itself isn't enough, because they have no way. They say we only solve the email compatibility problem. You have to figure out how to deal with the data yourself. That's your, and so people have strung different things together, and I just didn't like it. And then we were just like, why can't we use Vue? And we're just like, we Googled and we're like, wait a second, there's two POCs here. I just showed you the one that we like the best because it's the simplest one. There's one that has more dependencies and stuff. I mean, if you Google it, you're not going to find that many. I found more with React, but yeah, so to me, I thought that server-side rendering thing I was like, that is brilliant. That is a brilliant use of SSR. So
we do have, we have one question from Bart, and he's asking, from between the moment where you fix a typo or, let's say a design issue, how long does it take to get to that point where you're actually testing it again? Like how many steps do you have to go through to get to that point?
I mean, okay, I don't know if I understand the question correctly. This is from like editorial perspective or just like in my code?
Yeah, like let's say you're previewing an email to editorial, and there's a typo. There's like an M dash that's missing or something. It's always the M dashes.
Right. Okay. So this is the renderer part. We have all other part there, and honestly, it could take me a couple minutes. I go into the component, I make the change. I commit it and I push it, and it's like so there's this whole pipeline in the back that we push directly to production because we have tests and stuff that we work. So I mean, we have a back-end team that deals with the data, and they're actually doing the CMS, and that's where the editors are actually composing everything. And we were testing things out, and there was an issue. I had made a mistake. I don't remember what the mistake was. Some mistake, and we were like. Had like 10 different people, actually more than that. We had a lot of people, on a video conference, and I was sitting there like, oh crap. And then and I pushed it. And that back-end team, they were just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like you're doing under 2 minutes, you had your fix in production. That like, they're like, that's insane. We want that, So I could do it really quickly, but it's a really simple system. I have a great pipeline or what do you call it? The CI pipeline in the background. So it's, I don't know if I answered his question correctly, or I mean, like what he wanted to.
Well, a couple of minutes, yeah. So what you're saying is it's not entirely manual for you at the moment. It is a little bit manual. You had talked about wanting to automate more. Like what does that look like?
What I really want to automate is the process of right now. I generate this HTML email that you're looking at, crazy email, and then I copy and paste that and send it into email and asset. They have an API. I want to hook into that API.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. But I'm only one part of the process. Like, so I have to. People own the other process, so I need to work with them. But my ideal is that the editors, we can do test emails where they go from the editor all the way through the whole system. And instead of going on to somebody's email, it's going to go into email and asset or something like that. I haven't really worked it all out yet, but I just because I'm testing what I am doing, but there's another layer that actually delivers it. And they actually have to do some transformation based on some custom stuff. We have things like when you get an email, you can click on it and see stuff and not have to sign in. There's code that goes behind that. So they deal with that. So I don't really have that. I'm not testing the actual final email. It's, so that's something I would really like to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. But so far it's been fine and we haven't had any problems. Again, because it's keeping it simple. That's part of the reason keeping it simple. But that's something I'd really like to do, automate that part. But honestly, I feel like the rest is in pretty decent shape considering, honestly, we had this spin up in less than 2 weeks, like a week, and we had this spin up, a proof of concept showing everybody. That is absolutely amazing. At least to me, it was amazing. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ben, do you have any questions?
Yes, we have an important question in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
So since you did some live coding, what theme are you currently using?
I think this is Sarah Drasner's.
It's Sarah Drasner's.
Is this Night Owl?
I think it's Night Owl, yeah. I'm sure I'm using Night Owl.
Yeah, because it's got the italic attributes.
What is it? Color
I was going to guess Cobalt too, but...
Yeah, it's Night Owl. I know it's Night Owl.
It's Night Owl. Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
For those wondering, she's using Night Owl.
Yeah, I don't live code because it's like, I've just,
I saw you doing tons of live coding. I saw you copying and pasting lines.
I know, that's my live coding. Well, I remember once, Chris, that you did something and there was a little thing that went wrong and my heart like dropped like to the floor.
I had notes. I had a lot of notes.
You recovered, but that scarred me for life.
Oh, it was terrifying.
Yeah. So I don't do that.
So I guess if we don't have any more questions, we might jump off into trivia. Great job, Tracey. This looked really good. I look forward to showing this to people tomorrow at work.
Yep. So I'll send out the links to everything, and I have a fully developed, repo that that works. So yeah.
Nice.
But I would be curious if anybody knows because I'm sure there's some smart people, why this happened when I ran my renderer test.
The
Why
first
did it,
run.
Yeah, I really would love if anybody has any insight.
Yeah, somebody mentioned it might be, like a node thing in general. Yeah,
Oh, that makes more sense to me.
it's worth looking into.
Oh, yeah. That actually makes more sense. So okay, that actually makes sense. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Super cool. So I think we're going to switch to Ben's screen.
Yep. Let me get
Trivia.
that set up. All right. Actually, before we do the trivia, we should probably do the giveaway.
Yeah.
I think.
Raffle.
So let's do the. So if anyone else wants to get a raffle for the JetBrains license, I discovered we have a couple more that we didn't use the last meetup. So if you want to get in, the chances are better than average. Usually we'll only have 2 per meetup, but we will have more this time.
We usually mention this, but the trivia is we're keeping track of people who win trivia. So when we're all post-COVID and meeting back up together in real time, you'll probably get a prize of some sort.
Yes.
And stickers.
And if you're wondering why the JetBrains licenses aren't trivia prizes, it's because not everyone wants to use them. So we want people to feel like they can actually opt into this.
Yeah.
So yes, I think looks like we can do 4 licenses actually.
Nice.
This month.
Wow.
Which is pretty.
Ben,
that's perfect for our meetup after we got 1,000 members.
Yeah.
That is true.
Ben, where did we get these from? Just out of curiosity.
This is so.
That's where it's next
for
thing,
those, if there are any other meetup organizers here, big shout out to Margot, who is the organizer at in Canada. Gosh, why am I blanking the name? Anyways,
Toronto.
No, it's the other one. Not Clearwater. Okay. Anyway, she organizes, I think, KW JavaScript, and so she's the one who told me about this. And basically, they help sponsor meetups and give away.
So awesome. Montreal. Was it Montreal?
Okay, now you're gonna make me look it up. I have to
You
look it up.
You have to look it up.
Oh, Kitchener, Ontario.
Kitchener, okay.
Yeah, KW JavaScript. So you know what? I'm gonna.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I actually use WebStorm at work for the bigger apps, and it just helps a lot because the code is so much more complex. It just makes it so much easier to work with and to track the code down and stuff. So.
Oh shoot! Hold up, Billy. Sorry about that. Hang on.
Who's Andrew?
Sorry, I clicked too quickly. Okay, well, all right, Andrew, you're on the panel for a little while. Hello and welcome. I don't know how to push you back down. I don't want to accidentally.
We're just gonna randomly every so often throw somebody on the panel.
Nope, that's what you're gonna. Okay, let me make sure I have all the emails. So I got I'm missing one. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm missing. Okay, so let me do a list randomizer. Let's see. I really wish someone had a prettier one, but it's fine.
Oh, I know. I've looked at them and they're not that pretty.
Yeah, I feel like we just need to deploy something on Netlify and then just like let people just enter a list and it looks nice, designed well. This is better.
Right? Yeah.
All
okay.
right, here we go. All right. So, this is kind of nice. All right,
I think we can make a prettier one.
I've turned off my ad blocker. Great. All right. So BB1. So that is Brad actually. So Brad, congratulations. You are let me mark this.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
And then, I should. Okay, well.
We can't say he flames out anymore if he's winning everything.
All right, Sean. Sean won.
Nice, Sean.
One.
Congrats.
And then, so now let me just actually make this a little easier since they're no longer here. Yeah, this is gonna be a thing. We totally need a better design one. I'm thinking like, Price is Right, like you pull it down or something.
Yeah.
All right, CC. So Chad is the third winner. And let's do one more. We got Bart. Bart is our fourth winner. So congratulations to our winners. So one of the licenses actually does expire sooner rather than later. So if one of you can let us, or if some of you are going to use it basically like soon, let me know. So I'll email you all the one that's expiring in September 20th, and then I can give the other ones to the other people.
Super cool. Congrats, guys, everybody.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay, so all right. That said, number one is
Who's it gonna be?
Chad.
Congratulations.
All right, congratulations,
Nice.
Chad, Beatrix, and Bill for number 4 and 5. All right, got a screenshot of that.
Really cool.
Well done, well done, well done, everyone. All right. Well, I think with that, yeah, so just as a reminder, if anyone here is interested in speaking, please reach out to us. We're happy to help assist with, yes, Double Dash has said not enough Vue. We probably should have added a couple of Vue trivia, but we shall have more next month, promise. But yeah, so if anyone is interested in giving a talk at VDC, please let us know. We'd be happy to support you however we can. Anything else, Tracey, Chris, before we wrap up?
Special thanks to Tracey for putting this together.
Yeah, thanks a lot for Tracey. Woo! Well done, well done.
And
all right.
So the next meetup is October 20-something.
Gosh, let me just double check that real quick.
Yeah.
Yes, October 21st.
Yep.
And so it'll be an intro to Vue workshop. So actually, if you want to spread word around, odds are we will, as far as like so people know, it probably will cover basically Vue 3 basics as well. So we will be approaching it from like starting with Vue 3. So in case piques anyone's interest. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we will see you all next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.